Hello, I want to do a quick review of your code, of all the code you've sent me. So there we have it, just the few files you've sent me. Of course, I need to specify the package name because I've moved them to package test. It won't actually affect the code variation, just move them into different package. Now, what do we have? Let's just try to run it. Error. File not found exception. I think it's one of common and pure-info files. Let's check. Where it is common? What is common? It's a oh no. And this is the first problem with your partner's code. This is a global file to the program, to the common CFG file. Imagine that we've successfully passed the midpoint check, and now we have this code in release, and we finally start our remote process on a different machine. Imagine that we study our remote process on Linux. In Linux, disk names are just file names, so the disks aren't separated by the symbols like in Windows. Linux usually uses files as all of the types, so we need to have users as one of our file system roots to run it on Linux, but we surely don't have, and we surely don't have all these directories on Linux. It's called the absolute path. So if we go to IDEA and copy path absolute path, we now get the path to this file from the root of the file system, which for my case is disk E. But we need to change that to run properly, I think. And the way we do this is just we create a new package for config files and move two of them to this config package. Of course, we need to change the code to make this work, so now we use a relative path. A relative path is a path to the file from the place where the program is executed. So now src test cfg. And if we just copy it for, oh no, messed up a little bit, for our text file, there we have it, and now it should work. Does it work? Yes, it does. Okay, so it's the first fix. The second fix is that, looked up this code before actually, is that we have this not quite well catch block, because if we go to a non-exception class, we really see that it extends EO exception, so catching the EO exception will be enough. Just because if we catch an unknown host exception, we then get a new exception from buffered reader, but this unknown host exception is already the IO exception, so it doesn't need to check it manually, because these catch blocks bodies don't differ at all. So the next fix is right here. The third fix is really important. It's one of the most wrong parts in this code that will make it totally ruined. It is this line. It actually colors it, and when we saw the files you've provided me, we see that this actually was written in IntelliJ, so I don't really understand. Oh, and this also is bad. Don't catch exceptions in general. Please catch exceptions like IO exception or host exception. Don't catch the exception manually. It's not the best practice. As we can say by these global paths to these files, let me see, there it is. We can see that it contains IDEA project, so it was written in IntelliJ. So why do you ignore this? It is one of the most important warnings actually. What do I mean? Let's take an example. So we have a number of pieces. In our documentation, we see that the last piece can be not full. So if we have like a file of 6 numbers, like one of made right here, imagine that is all our binary file we want to transfer, and we have 4 of our piece size. So according to this formula, we divide the to get the number of pieces. The estimated number of pieces is actually 2, so the first piece will be from there to there, and the next piece will be this piece with 2 fitting zeros after it to fit the actual piece size. So we can use this formula. Let's actually do it. So file size, 4 divided, 6, not 4, 6, because it's our file. So 6 divided by 4. Let me just separate it a bit. 6 divided by 4. What does it give us in terms of integers? Remember that both file size and piece size are integers, so the result of this expression will be also an integer, which is 1. You can really check it out by just, you can see that it is 1. And then, what is, actually let's copy this, not copy this formula, but explain it. It's 1, because it's, if we divide it in float points, it's 1.25, but if we convert 1.25 to int, it doesn't round to the closest, it just, ignores all after the dot. So now we have 1. So if we would simply have 199 here, it would also be 1. So it doesn't matter how much value. These dots don't have any value when we correct it to int. So this is an integer, and math0 passes in doubles. Why does it pass in double? Because it's the function that gets the closest integer to the double, the next. So for 0.99, it would not get 0 as if we correct it to int, but it will give me 1. For 7.56, it will give me 8. So the closest positive integer to it. Now if we actually, in our test class, we get a sale of it, let me just use salt of a trick to do math.sale of 6 divided by 4. Let's check it out, what it is. It's 1. So basically, with using this formula, we get a wrong answer for our file piece. Miss where it is. Close all these. Use tabs now. We get 1, and an int from 1 is also 1. So we now get a wrong number of pieces, and it just crashes. It doesn't seem to work at all, because now if we have this number of pieces method, we get it and we don't actually have the proper number of pieces. And if we have our next peer that knows that the size is 6 bytes, but it's correct, but it thinks that it's correct, that it has 2 pieces, it sends out the request to send the second piece of the file, and it just doesn't want to do it. It doesn't know what to do at all, because it thinks that it is only 1 piece. So this ruins everything. What can we do with it to change this? The actual method to do it is pretty simple. We just need to cast one of them to float. Why does it work? Because this is an integer division, and it's really what the warning said, integer division in floating point context. Why floating points? Because math0 passes in a double. So there it is. Imagine we have not 6 by 4, but 6.40. It converts this to a double, so now we have the result of this expression will also be a double. Let's check. Bam! Math0 is 2. It changed everything. We can't really specify .0 in this, it just won't work at all. So we need to cast it to float. It would have the same approach as we just float 6. It will be the same. So it is the most important part of why this code is totally wrong, and if you don't refactor it now, you'd better do it right now, because then you will forget about it and then you will have some problems, some big problems, because such type of error is really hard to recognize without IDE. Just lighten it up as shining. If you scroll your code out up or down, you should really use it. Also, you have warnings in there. This is a very important warning. Don't ignore the warnings that it specifies. So it was the quick code review of all this code. The things, all other things seem fine to me. Also, this is not assigned value, it's just better to be null, because it's safer, because if we get a null pointer exception, we definitely know that we did something wrong. So where did exception, yeah, there it is. It's not the case, we have to check it, but we don't know. Actually, we don't know what exception can be reproduced. I can guess it will be the I exception too, but in case we don't really need it, because it's already in our cache block with IO exception, and we can't really have anything different because we are just using output streams and int streams. There can be, if we continue to use them. Also, I forgot to mention that it is forbidden to use them, because we've discussed why it is forbidden already. So I won't cycle on it now, I won't concentrate on it now, but just in case, replace, please. Replace these three lines of code. Actually, more than 3, all the subject output streams need to be converted to data, output, and input streams. So it is the things I wanted to mention about this program. So basically it actually doesn't work correctly at all, but with small changes like I've made now, I think it will be. It's actually not bad. It's not bad. We have a small structure, like comments and everything. It's actually one of the examples of the basic student program. It needs to be written just the day before the deadline. So that's all for it. Now I'm waiting for my Linux VM to install it. Just downloads the files in the awful speed of less than a megabyte a second. It's not really great because my speed needs to be 80 megabytes per second. Don't really know why it is so slow. Check quickly. Don't forget, it's not my IP address actually. Yes, there it is, 87 megabytes per second, but Ubuntu server side doesn't provide so much file speed, so I just need to fit with these 2 hours of downloading it. So I will write you when I download this machine and can test it. So bye for now.